Yeah. So look, I've been in this business about 25 years. And I'm probably a little bit unique in that I had an ultimate goal of becoming a CFO about 20 years ago. So or almost 25 years ago, actually, very early in my career, I identified that actually becoming a CFO was where I wanted to be. I started life as an investment banker, not having studied finance or accounting in university. So I really had to learn all of the technicals on the job. I'm not a CPA. And it was really my second role within financial services when I was at Morgan Stanley, when I was on the equity research side, where I realized that the individual who has all of this incredibly rich finance knowledge and who's really the true subject matter expert on a company is the CFO. So I started life wanting to be an investment banker and very quickly thereafter pivoted to actually wanting to become a CFO. I would say at that time, being about 2 years into my career, I didn't really have a good roadmap for how I was going to achieve it. And so I thought to myself, okay, well, I'm just going to go about my career and take interesting and attractive opportunities and try to build a toolkit that at some point would prepare me to actually do the job. And so I had enough perspective at that point to know that I had started in investment banking. I had started with this sort of hardcore corporate finance background, capital raising, et cetera, capital structure analysis. I had then pivoted into the equity research world, which from a CFO perspective really looks a lot like the investor relations side of what sits under a CFO. I then had other opportunities to move around the bank at Morgan Stanley, worked underneath Ruth Porat when she became CFO back in 2010, started to run the corporate FP&A function, so another core pillar underneath a very traditional private or public company CFO. Then had the opportunity to move into treasury, again, another very core pillar underneath a traditional CFO. And at a bank, the treasury role interfaces extremely closely with tax. And so I'm not a tax lawyer, but I learned enough to be dangerous. And at a certain point, I looked back on 18 years of career at Morgan Stanley across a number of different functions. And I sort of felt like I had built the toolkit to at least start to move in the direction to kind of put the pieces together and really start to evaluate what my next step would be to migrate towards being a CFO. And so I started to just think opportunistically, both internally to Morgan Stanley and actually externally. I had lived my career with an incredible amount of loyalty to the organization. I'd been there for a very long time. I'd had so many wonderful opportunities to do different things, but I did have to think about what my career was going to look like over the following sort of 18 or 20 years. So I had an opportunity to move to a company called Cognizant Technology Solutions, very large tech services organization based here also in kind of the New York, New Jersey area. And I took a role working for the CFO there where I was going to get exactly the experience that I was hoping to get. I was going to get an opportunity to sit at sort of the right hand of the CFO and see how all of the core pillars that sit underneath a very traditional public company CFO fit together. And I was going to be able to use and leverage my deep substantive subject matter expertise that I had accumulated across each of these different pillars and put them together. And do so in a way that still didn't have me fully in the hot seat as I worked at a very large and complex global multinational organization with, at the time, almost 300,000 employees globally. And so I did that, and I sort of said, yeah, I'm still moving in the direction I want to move into. I still want to be a private and then moving into public company CFO. So I did that role for about 2 years and then got really, really lucky to find the role that I have here at Braze today and have been, I started as private company CFO here back in 2020 and then took the company public in November of 21. So we're coming up on the third anniversary of living life as a public company CFO.